The rise of artificial intelligence in the workplace was not quite as simple as either its biggest promoters or loudest critics claimed. It is true that by the mid-2020s, companies across industries were investing heavily in AI tools designed to automate routine office work, summarize information, generate reports, assist with scheduling, analyze performance data, and support decision-making. It is also true that many executives began speaking openly about flatter organizations, leaner teams, and the possibility that fewer managers would be needed in the future. But the relationship between those two facts is more complicated than headlines often suggest. AI is changing management work. In some cases, it is reducing the need for certain administrative tasks. In other cases, it is increasing the demands placed on leaders by accelerating workflows and expanding expectations. Yet the idea that middle management can simply be removed and replaced by software misunderstands what effective management often does. This is perhaps counterintuitive, but how AI is actually reshaping middle management and what happens next is explained by the full complexity of modern organizations. Middle management has long been one of the least understood layers of the corporate hierarchy. To critics, it can appear bureaucratic, expensive, and redundant. It is often caricatured as a world of status meetings, email chains, approvals, and performance reviews. During periods of cost pressure, these roles become obvious targets because they do not always generate revenue directly, and their contributions can be harder to measure on a spreadsheet than those of sales teams, engineers, or frontline operators. But that caricature has always been incomplete. In functioning organizations, middle managers often serve as translators between strategy and execution. Senior leadership may define priorities, but someone still has to convert those priorities into real workflows, assign resources, resolve conflicts, coach employees, monitor progress, and adapt plans when reality changes. The more complex the work, the more valuable that connective layer can become. That distinction matters because much of what AI currently does well overlaps with only part of the managerial role. Software has assisted management for decades. Spreadsheets improved planning. Project management platforms tracked deliverables. HR systems standardized evaluations. Analytics tools surface trends. AI extends that tradition by making software faster, more responsive, and more capable of handling unstructured information. It can draft updates, summarize meetings, identify anomalies, forecast staffing needs, recommend schedules, compare budgets, and flag potential issues across large datasets in seconds. Those capabilities are real. If a manager spends significant time gathering information, producing routine reports, coordinating calendars, or answering repetitive internal questions, AI may reduce that burden substantially. In some teams, one manager may be able to oversee more work than before because administrative friction has fallen. That is where many executives see opportunity. If software can remove low-value coordination work, then perhaps organizations can reduce layers, widen spans of control, and cut costs at the same time. In theory, fewer managers plus better tools could create faster, more agile companies. Sometimes that theory may hold. Highly standardized environments with repetitive workflows, clear metrics, and limited ambiguity are more compatible with algorithmic management. Logistics scheduling, call center routing, shift planning, basic compliance checks, and standardized reporting are all areas where software can meaningfully substitute for tasks once performed manually. But many workplaces are not built entirely on routine tasks. They run on judgment, trust, tacit knowledge, and human relationships. A struggling employee may need encouragement rather than escalation. A conflict between strong performers may require diplomacy rather than rule enforcement. A project slipping behind schedule may need priorities renegotiated across departments rather than a dashboard alert. A talented junior employee may need mentorship before they are ready for greater responsibility. None of these functions fit neatly into a workflow automation box. This is why the debate over AI and middle management is often framed too crudely. The real question is not whether AI can replace managers in the abstract. It is which parts of management are administrative, which parts are analytical, and which parts are deeply human. Those categories are not equal. Many visible management tasks are administrative because they leave digital traces: reports, approvals, calendars, metrics, updates. They are easy to notice and easier to automate. Many high-value management tasks are invisible: calming tension, building trust, sensing disengagement, protecting focus, developing talent, and making trade-offs under uncertainty. They are harder to measure and therefore easier to underestimate. That helps explain why some restructuring efforts look successful at first. When a company reduces management headcount, compensation costs fall quickly. Layers disappear from org charts. Decision rights may appear cleaner. Investors may reward efficiency narratives. Profit margins can improve in the short term if payroll shrinks faster than performance declines. But not all consequences appear immediately. The costs of weaker management often emerge slowly: slower onboarding, rising turnover, delayed decisions, internal confusion, poor succession planning, reduced accountability, lower morale, and execution problems that only become visible once a major initiative fails. By then, the original cost savings can look less impressive. This dynamic is not unique to AI. It has appeared in many waves of corporate restructuring. Technology simply gives the newest version of the same story a more futuristic vocabulary. There is also a social dimension to management that many automation narratives ignore. Employees do not only need instructions. They need context. They need feedback they trust. They need someone who understands constraints that are not captured in a ticketing system. They need advocacy when priorities conflict. They need recognition when work is overlooked. They need discretion when rules collide with reality. A dashboard can measure output. It cannot fully replace legitimacy. That does not mean human managers are always good. Some teams are slowed by unnecessary approvals, poor communication, weak leadership, or managers who add friction rather than remove it. In those cases, AI may expose inefficiencies that should have been addressed long ago. Some roles genuinely may shrink. Some organizations may discover they were overmanaged. Some employees may prefer self-directed structures supported by strong tools. But poor management and unnecessary management are not the same thing as management itself being unnecessary. This distinction becomes more important as work grows more complex. In creative, technical, cross-functional, or rapidly changing environments, coordination problems can multiply faster than software can solve them. The more exceptions, dependencies, and ambiguous trade-offs a company faces, the more valuable experience judgment tends to become. That is why two firms can adopt similar AI tools and get different results. A company with clear processes, strong culture, and capable leaders may use AI to make managers more effective. A company with weak leadership may use AI to remove people it already undervalued, only to discover that software cannot compensate for deeper organizational flaws. The market often struggles to distinguish between those cases in real time. Announcements about AI-driven efficiency are easy to communicate. Long-term declines in mentorship quality or internal trust are much harder to quantify in quarterly earnings calls. For a period, both successful and unsuccessful strategies can look similar from the outside. This creates incentives for imitation. When competitors announce leaner structures and lower costs, others feel pressure to follow. In organizational theory, firms often copy fashionable strategies under uncertainty, especially when the downside of inaction feels more visible than the downside of being wrong. AI can therefore spread not only because it works, but because no executive wants to appear behind the curve. That does not mean adoption is irrational. Many AI tools create real value. The danger is assuming that every cost removed is inefficiency removed. Labor markets add another layer of complexity. If large numbers of managers lose roles, they do not disappear. Some move into individual contributor positions. Some shift into consulting, operations, recruiting, or project work. Some retrain into technical specialties. Some leave corporate environments entirely. At the same time, younger workers may become less interested in leadership paths if management appears unstable or devalued. That creates a pipeline risk. Organizations still need future leaders. They still need people who can coordinate teams, absorb responsibility, and make difficult decisions under pressure. If management becomes viewed only as overhead until a crisis emerges, firms may discover too late that leadership capacity cannot be rebuilt instantly. So what happens next? The most likely future is not a world with no middle management. It is a world where the role changes. Routine reporting, scheduling, documentation, and basic analysis may increasingly be automated. Managers who relied primarily on administrative control may become less valuable. Managers who excel at coaching, prioritization, communication, cross-functional execution, and judgment may become more valuable. In that sense, AI may not eliminate management so much as separate stronger managers from weaker structures. The organizations that benefit most will probably be those that use AI to remove drudgery while preserving the human capabilities that software still struggles to replicate. They will treat technology as leverage, not as a substitute for leadership. The organizations that struggle may be those that mistake thinner org charts for stronger companies. Artificial intelligence is changing the workplace. It may reduce some management roles, redesign others, and raise expectations for everyone. But the deeper challenge was never whether software could imitate authority. It was whether companies understood what good management was in the first place. And for many organizations, that question may prove far harder than adopting any new tool.